aren't people entitled to think that as a party, and you as the leader, are happier with some migrants than other migrants, based on ethnic or national background, and nothing to do with the skills or the languages that they bring?
Well, do you think it would be a good idea if you had if you were running your own immigration policy, which of course Britain doesn't, because we're EU members, do you think it'd be a good idea to get a lot of people to come who didn't speak English? Do you think that would aid and abet integration in society? Well, the answer, of course, to that clearly is no. Do I think...
Do you favour some immigrants? Let's suppose one from Mogadishu, with the same skills, the same ability to speak English, but not as a first language, from one from Melbourne. Do you have a preference? Do you have a preference?
I have to confess, I do have a slight preference. I do think, naturally, that people from India and Australia are in some ways more likely to speak English, understand common law, and have a connection with this country than some people that come perhaps from countries that haven't fully recovered from being behind the Iron Curtain. But that's irrelevant. When you have an Australian-style point system, what you do is you take out of that all subjectivity, and you look at things on a purely objective basis.
So you don't give points for being Australian or points for being Judeo-Christian?
No, you get points because you've got languages and skills.
But why wouldn't you? You just said you'd prefer the Judeo-Christian or the Commonwealth immigrants.
Yeah, I look, this country has long associations and links with Australia, with India, with countries like that, all right? And we have been friends together in crisis many, many times. And what we've done is we've turned our backs on them. We've turned our backs on them in terms of trade by making life very difficult for them. And we've really become a country whose political elite and much of whose media elite are totally incapable of thinking about the world outside the European club.
You say that. In fact, your manifesto says the liberal metropolitan elite often tells us patriotism is wrong. Who is this liberal metropolitan elite who says patriotism is wrong?
Well, I think you only have to look at the tweet, and I won't name her because that would be really quite nasty, but a certain Labour MP put out a tweet of a chap with a white van and with a cross of St George outside his house, as if to say, look at these ghastly people. And there is too much of that. There is too much snobbery. And actually, that's what it's about. It is London-based snobbery about the way ordinary folk feel. And out there in the country, a lot of people are unashamedly patriotic, and that's considered to be awful in London.
I don't know. I just wonder whether there are different patriotic visions, and there are certain people who you would call liberal metropolitan elite who have a different vision of Britain. Did you see the Paddington Bear movie last year?
No.
Terrific movie with a kind of a rather sort of moving, in a sense, proclamation of the virtues of multiculturalism, which I know you hate because he's a bear and he's different and he feels very at home and is made to feel welcome here.
I think using the word...
Would that be a sort of metropolitan elite movie that is kind of a tragedy of a travesty of British patriotism and British values?
The fact that you throw the word in hate like that as a sort of off-the-cuff comment...
But you have lots of insults
as if, of course, Mr Farage hates things... What's your evidence for that?
Well, you said in your manifesto, you say multiculturalism is divisive.
What is your evidence that I hate it?
But you say it's divisive. You say it's a politically correct experiment. A political correction experiment, you've called it.
You've just used a very strong word, and I'm picking up on it. I don't hate anything.
You don't hate multiculturalism?
I don't hate multiculturalism. Right,
but you don't like it. Can we go that far?
We have made some real mistakes with state-sponsored multiculturalism and division within society, and that's something which, when I was saying it a few years ago, was considered to be dreadful. Now people like Trevor Phillips say it.